Hi everyone, the Column of Cure is back with yet another video session. Today we will be discussing various aspects of UGC NET examinations. Today we are honored to have with us Professor Amit Ghosh to share his idea and knowledge on this topic. Sir cleared his UGC NET on December 2018 and is a PhD scholar in the NUJS, Kolkata, with the title A Critical Study of Child Trafficking in the Border District of West Bengal. Sir is a recipient of Human Rights Fellowship cohort in the year 2020. Professor Ghosh is a distinguished scholar. He has authored several publications on socio-legal issues, including research titles, conference proceedings, and many more. Sir has authored a book titled Triest with Free Right to Free and Compulsory Education in India, a tale of Right to Education Act 2019, and has authored several chapters in several other books. Sir is a life member of Indian Society of Victimology and Global Alliance for Justice Education. Sir is currently employed as a professor in a state-aided college, that is Surendranath Law College, affiliated to University of Calcutta. A very warm welcome to you, sir, on our platform. As already said, we would be discussing about UGC NET and GRF examinations for a better understanding, so that it helps the UGC NET and GRF aspirants. So my first question to you would be, if you can introduce the subject, that is, what is UGC NET and GRF examination?
Thank you, Devottam, for inviting me on this platform of Column of Cure. And today, the discussion is all about UGC NET and GRF. Let me start with this line that the NET, National Eligibility Test, is conducted on behalf of University Grant Commission, UGC, which is the highest body for any university and colleges, for determining the eligibility of Indian nationals for the eligibility of assistant professorship, junior research fellowship, or both maybe, for getting in the universities or colleges in India. Till 2018, the examination of UGC NET used to be conducted by the UGC body only itself. But right now, it is conducted by National Testing Agency, NTA.
My second question is, how is UGC NET examination different from CSIR NET examination?
There are many differences about CSR NET and UGC NET. For an example, in CSR NET stands for Council of Scientific and Industrial Research National Eligibility Test, and it is conducted to shortlist the candidate for lecturership or GRF. And there are only 5 subjects included. First of all, CSR NET is given in chemical science. Second, life sciences. Third, mathematical sciences. Fourth, physical sciences. And fifth, earth, atmospheric, ocean, or planetary sciences. So these all 5 subjects includes only CSR NET. And the rest subject, for an example, there are more than 81 subjects. Okay, this year they have extended the subject from 81 to I think 92 or something like that. So UGC NET is for conducting various discipline, other subjects, which are mentioned. For an example, you can for law, English, sociology, management, human rights, any physics. There are a lot of subjects which we study in colleges. Now, there is a term used in NET, UGC NET and GRF. So there is also a difference between an UGC NET and GRF. UGC NET, it says about National Eligibility Test for Assistant Professorship. Or suppose someone has only has given the examination for NET, UGC NET, but could not qualify the examination for GRF. So GRF stands for Junior Research Fellowship. But NET, he has qualified. So the candidate who has qualified for NET is eligible for any assistant professorship, any of the university or colleges. Now, the candidate qualifying for assistant professorship would not be qualified for JRF because the JRF is different from NET. In each year, if the cutoff marks for NET is 60, for an example, in for last 2-3 years, the NET cutoff marks for law subject is more or less 59, 60, 61 or 60.5, 61.5. So this was the percentage of marks for NET. For JRF, it is 63%, 65% or 63.5. So it was there. Now, candidates who qualified the eligibility test for assistant professorship are governed by the rules and regulation for recruitment of assistant professor in university, colleges, and state universities. Now, December 2018 onwards, it is conducted by NTA, as I have told you. There is another examination apart from UGC NET. Those who are appearing for UGC NET, they can also appear for SET. SET stands for State Eligibility Test. They are also eligible for, after qualifying this exam, they are eligible for sitting to the any of the state university. For an example, if a person has been qualifying the UGC NET and a person qualifying the UGC SET, State Eligibility Test, that person who has qualified NET, he is eligible for being a professor in any of the university in India. But for an example, if someone has given the examination of SET in West Bengal and he has qualified, then he is only the person getting the assistant professorship in West Bengal, because that result of SET will not be eligible for any other state. For an example, he or she wants to get a professorship in Orissa or Madhya Pradesh, then they has to be qualified their own state SET. Or if you have qualified NET, NET is eligible for all India level.
My third question to you would be, who should actually aim for this examination? Or in other words, if I may say, what are the career options after UGC NET and GRF examinations?
See, first of all, there is a different two parameters. For an example, those who are appearing for UGC NET, there has to be a post-graduation relevant degree for any stream of humanities, social science, electronic science, computer science application. This is the first and foremost criteria, post-graduation, or at least securing 55% marks. Okay. Second, there is an age limit. There is also an age limit for UGC NET. For an example, if for JRF, you are coming for JRF, you are targeting that you should qualify JRF, the candidate should be maximum of 30 years. For professional courses like LLM, there is a relaxation period of 3 years. Okay. But for any other subject, it is 30 years, it's capped. Now, but whereas if you going for the NET, only NET, so NET is applicable for lecturership in colleges. There is no upper age limit for lecturership in NET. And UGC NET, there is two way. For an example, those who are appearing for UGC NET and JRF, or you can appear for both UGC NET and JRF both. Now, the first and foremost point you have to make in mind that those who are having the passion to teach, and further those who want to do research in universities level, in a scope, for an example, in any funding agencies are not available, then you can go for research also. So if you qualified UGC NET, then you are qualified for eligibility as a lecturership any other colleges. So teaching is, there is a scope that after qualifying for UGC NET, you go for teaching. But if you go for JRF, then you are also eligible for teaching, and simultaneously there will be an eligibility for funding given by UGC to do your research in any university under UGC, and the fund will be given by the UGC itself. Now, coming to the funding also, there are two criteria. If you are JRF, then the fund will go to directly. For an example, if you have qualified for JRF in law and you want to do research, and you have been selected in NUJS or any other national law school or any other central university. So after getting the certificate of JRF, within 3 years from the degree you have qualified, you have to take admission for PhD in any of the central university or any of the state university. Now, the day you get admitted to that university, after qualifying the 6-month coursework, you are eligible for getting fellowship from UGC itself. Now, there are good number of university also who gives institution funding. For an example, you are not qualified for JRF, but only NET. But there are a lot of scope where the institution gives you funding to do your research. For an example, in IIT, for an example, in Jadavpur University, for an example, in Calcutta University, there are a lot of scope to give institution. ISAR, for an example, in Science Institute or in traditional university or state university, there is a lot of scope for institution funding. But in case of national law schools or any central university, they doesn't provide any funding, institution funding for law students or doing PhD in social science as such. But there is a lot of scope for institution funding in science. In science, those who are qualified the CSR NET or JRF. So there is a scope for institution funding for them. Now, and after qualifying this UGC NET, there is a one option. You go for academics. You want to teach in any other college or university if you get the selection, or JRF is eligible for funding. So till you give your PhD, the funding will come, and from JRF after qualifying the 2 years program. For an example, if there is a 5 years PhD course or 4-year course, after 2 years automatically it will convert into SRF. SRF stands for Senior Research Fellowship. JRF stands for Junior Research Fellowship, and SRF stands for Senior Research Fellowship. So what is the difference between JRF and SRF? JRF is basically the stipend given around 31,000 and 30% of HRF, depending upon the city you are. There is a criteria: 30%, 20%, and 10%, depending upon the city you are doing. Now, SRF gets much higher from the university, UGC, or for an example, institution, because they are now qualified for Senior Research Fellowship. It depends upon some research work. It depends upon some your publication. Then there will be a synopsis presentation. After 2 years or maybe 2.5 years, you will be converted to SRF. So that is the position of JRF and SRF.
Does clearing UGC NET examination have any effect on promotion?
First of all, as per UGC guideline 2018, without UGC NET qualification, you are not eligible to sit for the examination of assistant professorship. That has been categorically said in the UGC notification 2018 for assistant professorship and professorship. So first of the criteria is that you have to qualify the post-graduation degree with minimum 55% marks. Then you must qualify UGC NET or SET examination irrespectively. If it is a state university, then SET. If it is a central university, then NET. Now, after that, you will be eligible for sitting in the interview. That's the minimum criteria. From 1st of July 2021, it has been categorically said that a person has to be a PhD holder for assistant professorship. That has been said in the notification itself of the UGC. So UGC also wants that the professor, those who are teaching, they must at least have a PhD in the position of assistant professorship. So it is the minimum criteria going to be hopefully it will come into action, because from 1st of July it will come into effect. So from till now, those who have got the position of assistant professorship, fine, good. But from next month onwards, if the notification comes for the new post, the minimum eligibility criteria will be not only UGC NET qualification but also having PhD degree. That is the minimum qualification for assistant professorship.
My next question would be how and when to apply for UGC NET and GRF examinations.
Another thing which I want to add regarding this how and when to apply for UGC NET and GRF. UGC NET or JRF can be applied when you are in, for an example, 2 years master degree program, post graduation program. You can apply it for in the final year also. That the validity for NET depends upon if you qualify in the post graduation with 55 marks, then only the certificate given to will be into effect. For an example, in post graduation you have not get for 55 marks, then if you have qualified UGC NET also, then it will be not considered, because UGC says that for assistant professorship minimum 55% marks is required. Now for JRF also, I have told you that if you qualify JRF exam, then within 3 years you have to get enrolled yourself in PhD program. Otherwise, that JRF program certificate which you have given by the UGC of qualification, that you have qualified the JRF examination, will not be taken into consideration. The examination you have passed, but it may happen that each year you are appearing and you are qualifying the JRF, then the latest one you have qualified, that will be taken into consideration. For an example, I am an UGC NET qualified. I can sit n number of time for UGC NET right now. For an example, different subject. For an example, I have studied law. I want to give UGC NET on human rights perspective, criminology. So I can sit. So there is no bar like that. The minimum criteria is 55% marks in post-graduation level.
My next question is what are the subjects in UGC NET and GRF examinations, specifically with a reference to law students?
There is a history of this subject of UGC NET and GRF for law students. Once upon a time, it used to be of subjective knowledge. So there is a long question has to be given and we have to write on it. Our senior professors have written the subjective part and they have qualified that examination, paper and pen, pencil. But right now it is online and objective type test. If you categorically say about what is the syllabus, as per the new guideline given by the UGC, there are 10 units. First, the unit 1 includes jurisprudence. You know the syllabus of jurisprudence. Second, constitutional and administrative law, unit 2. Unit 3 includes public international law and international humanitarian laws. Unit 4 includes law of crimes. Unit 5 includes law of tort and consumer protection. Unit 6 includes commercial law, which includes contract, Sale of Goods Act, Partnership Act, Negotiable Instruments Act, Company Law, CSR, and New Companies Act 2013 also. Unit 7 includes family law. Family law includes both. For an example, Hindu, Muslim, both that thing. The matrimonial, recognition of foreign decrees, succession, adoption, will, gift, walk-up, marriage, dissolution of marriage, sources and school, both. Now coming to the unit 8, it includes environment and human rights law. Human rights law is one of the most important subject right now on environmental perspective. That's why they have included specifically this environmental and human rights law. It includes international bills, protections of human rights activities, NGT, concept of human rights, then constitutional legal frameworks for protection of environment, hazardous waste, different laws on environmental laws. And unit 9 includes IPR and information technology laws. IPR, one of the booming subject, so they have included in unit 9. And unit 10, the last one, comparative public law and system of governance. So this subject has been newly included, which says about methodology problem concerning the concept of federalism, rule of law, separation of power, comparative study of different jurisdictions, amendment to the constitution, and so on. So this is all about these units and the subject in short.
What is the pattern of examination followed in UGC NET or GRS examination?
See, I have told you that the mode of examination has been changed, and it is right now conducted online, computer-based test mode. And medium of examination or the format of examination, the examination, the question booklets is of both English and Hindi language. The time duration for there are only 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2, for 3 hours. Type of question would be objective type question. Candidate have to select correct answer from the given questions. And for paper 1, there are 50 questions, while for paper 2, there are 100 questions. And both these 150 questions for paper 1, 50, and paper 2, 100 questions, they are compulsory. Next, marking or marking pattern, you can say 2 marks are awarded for each correct answers for both paper 1 and paper 2. There is no negative marking till right now. It has not been notified. So in short, this is the pattern of examination which is there for NET examination.
How should one gear up for UGC NET examinations?
If you have a passion for teaching and you want to do research in legal field or for social science, you should start your preparation from the very beginning of your LLM course, because there are a lot of subjects you will come across while you are first year of your LLM, or for an example, first semester of your examination. For an example, you know about jurisprudence, you know about constitutional law, you know about judicial process. So these are all subjects related to your UGC NET. Apart from that, there are a lot of subjects you have studied in 5 years course or 3 years course. So the subject which are already there, but it is not in LLM program, you must go and have a revisit to that subject. So it's all about selecting your domain, those who interested in UGC or NET examination. Now, one of the timing should be, as I told you, that the candidate can appear in the master's degree while in a final year of examination itself. Suppose someone has appeared in 3rd semester or will be giving on 4th semester dissertation, then he or she is having the eligibility to sit for the examination. And if he qualifies that examination, then after passing the LLM degree or master's postgraduate degree, he only had to suffice that I have qualified with minimum percentage of marks which required by the UGC. Then the certificate will be given. And time management during examination is one of the most important thing, because I told you that paper 1 includes 50 questions and paper 2 includes 100 questions, and all the questions are compulsory. So time management is one of the most crucial functioning, and total time required for this examination is 3 hours. 3 hours, 180 minutes. Now paper 1, the paper 1 is common for all candidates. For an example, I am sitting for LLM, law subject. Someone is sitting for English. Someone is sitting for sociology. Someone is sitting for political science. But the paper 1 is common for everyone because it includes there is a syllabus for UGC NET paper 1 is different. For an example, it is a research methodology. It's about higher education. It's about mathematical. It's about logic. It's about governance. It's about logical conclusion. So there are a lot of subjects syllabus includes in paper 1 and which is common. But paper 2 is subject specific question. For an example, if someone is appearing for political science, then paper 2 will be on subject of political science. I am appearing for law, then the paper should be of law paper. So total there is 4 questions and each one correct answer has to be given out of it.
My last question to you would be, what is the pattern of cutoff followed in UGC NET JRF examination?
First of all, to calculate cutoff marks for UGC NET and JRF depends each and every year. There is no standard that, for an example, in 2018 it has been 60 and 2019 it has been 61. It may happen that 2022 it may be of 55. It depends. It depends upon number of students appearing for the examination. It depends upon number of percent, the highest number you have scored. For an example, out of 10,000, one who is appearing for law subject, the highest number scored by someone is 72. Okay, so that is the one of the main highest mark he has scored. Okay, now there is a ratio. There is a ratio that minimum percentage of cutoffs, how to make it. Now on that basis, the UGC come up with the formula that this is the minimum cutoff marks for the eligibility of NET. But interestingly, one thing that has to keep in mind that for the award, if someone qualified the JRF 3 years program, the certificate remains valid for 3 years from the date of issue. For an example, if X is a candidate have appeared for JRF and he has qualified in 2021 itself, then the validity of JRF depends on 2021, 22, 23 and 24. Bus, only 3 years. Within 3 years, he or she has to get admitted in PhD. Otherwise, he will not be given any kind of supervision. For an example, he will not get any kind of fund after that. He or she can go to any other university and join as a PhD scholar, but after 3 years, you will not be eligible for JRF. So JRF counts when you have qualified and you ask the UGC that I have been admitted in some university, I want to pursue my PhD, and they will give you the fund. And for and for lecturership, if someone qualifies the UGC NET, then it is valid for lifetime. They give you a certificate, and it is valid for lifetime. There is no such kind of for an example, there is no such kind of 3 years, 2 years, or like this. And one thing must keep in mind, there is minimum score has to be qualified. Okay, there is a minimum score has to be qualified. UGC NET for general category candidate, 40% marks minimum should be there in paper 1 and paper 2 both. Otherwise, you will be rejected outrightly. And qualifying marks for reserve category candidates is 35 marks. Okay, So these has to be kept in mind. So you have to score minimum 40% marks in each.
Sir, any other point you would like to add on your own which can help our viewers?
One thing that has to be kept in mind, if you are sure enough that you want to join academics or you want to do PhD, you should start your study. For an example, the syllabus, you should chalk out your plan, and there is a method in the sense, I told you that those who have already been in 5 years course or 3 years course, many of the subjects are common, and if those who are pursuing LLM degree, if you want to sit for this examination, they should prepare themselves from the beginning. It's not like that after qualifying the LLM degree you go to somewhere else, then you start your programmation. No, but right now, as per the notification of UGC, you have to be assistant professor. If you want to be an assistant professor, then you must have a PhD degree. So it's better that you qualified the JRF, not only UGC NET, only NET will not suffice right now. The time has gone. Right now you have to be JRF, and after JRF, you should take admission to some other university and then do your PhD. After completing PhD, you can enter any of the university. That is the minimum criteria they are saying.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insight to the topic. Thank you for sharing your idea, your knowledge on this topic, and of course for your time.
Thank you,
I
Devottam.
hope
Thank you,
I am,
everyone.
and I sincerely hope that this video is not only useful but also gives a varied insight to the whole topic of UGC NET and GRF examinations. Thank you, sir. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.